She never imagined her life would change on the night she thought she had everything. Under the golden lights of a luxury charity gala, Claire Donovan, CEO, Millionaire, and one of the most influential women in her city, collapsed to the floor as people gasped and stepped back. But the real shock wasn't that she fainted at a glamorous event. The real shock was where she woke up, in a small mechanic's garage, lying on a dusty sofa, with a little girl sitting beside her, gently holding her hand. And that little girl's kindness would end up rewriting Claire's entire life. Before we begin, if you enjoy touching, emotional stories about humanity and kindness, make sure you subscribe, like, and comment. Your support helps us grow our community here at Echoes of Dad. Now, let's begin today's story. Claire Donovan lived a life most people only dream about. Penthouse apartment overlooking the ocean. A driver waiting outside her office every day. A closet full of designer clothes and shoes that cost more than some people's monthly rent. But for all her success, she carried something quietly inside: exhaustion. The kind that doesn't go away with sleep. The kind that grows when you don't slow down, when your days are scheduled to the minute, and when you've forgotten what a real pause feels like. The gala that night was supposed to be simple. A speech, a donation, a few photos for the press. But the room felt too hot, her vision too blurry, and her chest too tight. She remembered grabbing the edge of a table. Then darkness. When Claire opened her eyes, everything felt wrong. The room smelled like oil and metal. A small fan rattled from a corner. Tools hung on a wall. Sunlight streamed through a large, half-open garage door. And sitting beside her was a little girl, maybe 7, holding a coloring book and watching her with wide, concerned eyes. "You're awake," the girl whispered excitedly. "Daddy said you just needed rest. You were really pale." Claire blinked. "Where am I?" The girl swung her legs, which didn't reach the floor. "Our garage. I'm Lily. My dad fixed your car once. Do you remember him? You were asleep outside our shop when he found you." "Outside your shop?" Claire repeated, confused. The last thing she remembered was the gala. But she didn't remember leaving it. She didn't remember walking anywhere. She didn't remember collapsing again. "My dad says people get tired sometimes," Lily continued. "So he brought you somewhere safe." Claire sat up slowly. Her head spun, and the little girl steadied her shoulder with the gentle seriousness only children carry. Then Lily said something that made Claire's throat tighten. "You kept whispering, 'Someone please, help.' So Daddy said we had to." At that moment, the garage door slid open, and a tall, broad-shouldered man in a grease-stained shirt stepped inside. His dark hair was messy, his hands coated in black from working on an engine. He froze when he saw Claire sitting up. "Oh, good, you're awake," he said. "I'm Daniel. Mechanic here. Don't worry, nothing bad happened. I found you sitting on the sidewalk near my shop around midnight. You looked like you were about to pass out again. So I brought you inside, gave you water, let you sleep." Claire stared at him, overwhelmed. Why would you do that? You don't even know me." Daniel shrugged, almost shy. "Didn't need to know you. You needed help." It was such a simple statement. So ordinary. But to Claire, who lived in a world where favors came with price tags, it didn't feel ordinary at all. Lily jumped in. "Daddy said kindness is free, even when life is expensive." Daniel laughed softly at his daughter's confident tone. Claire couldn't help but smile. Her phone had died. Her clutch was missing. Her body felt like it carried years of stress. But here, in this little garage, with a stranger and his daughter, she felt safe in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. Daniel pointed toward a small kitchenette area. "I made some oatmeal. Lily insisted we save some for you. It's not fancy. But, it's warm." Claire hesitated. She wasn't used to this, ordinary kindness, no cameras, no expectations. She followed them to the tiny table anyway. The oatmeal was simple, with a little honey drizzled on top. And it was the best meal she'd had in months. Not because of the taste, though it was surprisingly good, but because of the feeling. Like someone cared. Lily talked through the meal, telling Claire about her school, her friends, and the art contest she wanted to win. Claire listened, surprised at how easily the conversation flowed. Daniel finally asked, "Do you want me to call someone? Family? Friends?" Claire lowered her spoon. I don't really have anyone to call." It wasn't entirely true, but it felt true. Her parents lived across the country. Her colleagues were more like business partners. Her friends, if she could call them that, were people she met at events, people who liked her power more than her presence. Daniel nodded softly, like he understood without needing an explanation. "You can stay here as long as you need," he said. "No rush." No rush. 2 words she never heard in her corporate world. Claire spent the next hour resting in the warm sunlight of the garage, listening to the gentle clinks of tools as Daniel worked on a customer's truck, and Lily hummed a tune while coloring beside her. She felt something loosening inside her. Something she didn't know had been tight. Eventually she stood and looked around the small shop, the peeling posters, the half-broken radio, the worn-out floors. It was nothing like the glossy world she lived in. But it felt more human. "Daniel," she said quietly, "you didn't have to do any of this." "Really?" He wiped his hands on a rag. "Maybe not. But life's just better when we look out for each other, isn't it?" She swallowed, touched. When her phone finally turned back on after charging in the corner, notifications flooded in, messages, emails, meeting reminders. Her world demanding her attention again. But it all felt distant. Before she left, Lily tugged on her sleeve. "Here," she said, holding out a small drawing. It was a picture of Claire lying on the sofa with Lily next to her, holding her hand. On top, in shaky crayon letters, it said, "Be kind. It makes you strong." Claire's eyes stung. She gently folded the drawing and placed it against her heart. As she stepped outside, she paused. "Daniel, can I come back? Maybe for the oatmeal. Or, just to say hi." Daniel smiled. "Our door's always open." For the first time in years, Claire felt something warm bloom in her chest, a sense of belonging. Over the next weeks, Claire returned often. She'd bring pastries for Lily, or help clean the cluttered shelves, or just sit on the shop's front steps talking with Daniel. No fancy dresses. No deadlines. No expectations. Just people. Just kindness. And somewhere in those quiet moments, Claire realized she had been measuring wealth the wrong way. It wasn't in bank accounts or properties or awards. It was in how deeply you could touch someone else's life, and how deeply they could touch yours. So Claire began making changes. She started showing more compassion at work. She set up mental health days for her employees. She organized community programs that offered free car repairs for single parents and struggling families, Daniel's shop being the first partner. She even made space in her life for more human connections. Real ones. And every Sunday morning, she visited Daniel and Lily at the little garage. They'd eat oatmeal, talk about life, and laugh about things that never made it into corporate boardrooms. One day, as Claire watched Lily proudly show her a new drawing, Daniel leaned over and said, "You know, you look happier than the first day I saw you." Claire smiled. "I feel happier." "Why?" he asked gently. She looked around the small garage, the sunlight warming the concrete, the soft sound of Lily humming as she colored. "Because," Claire said, "kindness brought me back to life." In a world full of rushing schedules, silent struggles, and people passing each other without truly seeing one another, Claire discovered something beautifully simple. Kindness doesn't need money. Kindness doesn't need power. Kindness just needs a moment, and a heart willing to act. A mechanic who stopped for a stranger. A little girl offering a drawing. A warm bowl of oatmeal in a small garage. And somehow, those small moments changed everything. If this story touched your heart, remember this. Kindness isn't just something we do, it's something we choose, every day, in small moments that can change lives. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to spread kindness wherever you go. It costs nothing, but it means everything. If you'd like, I can adjust the tone, length, or emotional intensity.